Hey guys, happy Wednesday. I hope yesterday provided some clarity on triangular prisms for the surface area. Now we are going to move on to 9.2, which is surface area of pyramids. So the concept of surface area is still the same thing. It's like you are wrapping the outside of this geometric shape. So pyramids are all the same because they come to a point. So take a moment here to jot down the definition of a regular pyramid, the key word there being regular. When they say the word regular, they're trying to tell you that all of the faces are the same. It's kind of like if you had a regular octagon. Maybe I'll do something easier. A regular pentagon. A regular pentagon would have all equal sides. You could have a pentagon pentagon is technically anything that has 5 sides. So that could be a pentagon because it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides, but it is not regular because the sides are not equal. So again, the difference between regular and irregular, regular has all equal sides and irregular does not. So looking at this pyramid that they've given us, this is a square pyramid. Basically the concept behind pyramids is you name the pyramid based off of what is the shape on the bottom. So in this example right here, there's a square on the bottom. You can see that right here. It looks like a parallelogram because of the view that you're looking at it, but if you look at it from above, like this, where they have basically unfolded it, it's a square. So we call it a square pyramid, and what we know about a square is that all of the sides are the same. So even if this was a pentagon, we would know that all the sides are the same because in order for a pyramid to close up correctly, the sides have to be regular. They have to be the same thing. This other word that you're going to see a lot is lateral, and that's just a fancy way of saying the sides. So all of these side triangles are called the lateral faces. And then the slant height is going to be this right here because it's slanted inward to get to that point on the top of the pyramid. So basically, all you're doing for surface area of pyramids is you're finding whatever the shape is on the bottom, finding the area of that, and then adding the lateral faces. So I just wanted to show you some other examples of pyramids. You could have any shape on the bottom. It doesn't have to be these three. It could be any shape, but a pyramid, you'll notice, always has triangles on the sides. The bottom, that's the name of the shape. So this is a triangular base, so that's called a triangular pyramid. This one has a square base, so it's called a square pyramid, but still notice that the sides are triangles. And then this one over here is a hexagon because it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. All of these sides would be the same. We would just have to find the area of that and add all of these 6 triangles. So another thing that they have in common is the number of sides the base has is the number of triangles the sides are going to have, which makes sense. It's a hexagon, has 6 sides, there's going to be a triangle on every one of those sides. Okay, so let's jump in and do an example. You learned this, I believe, last year in 6th grade, and if not, we'll just kind of refresh on nets. So if I were to take this regular pyramid, I know it's regular, all the sides are the same, you look at the bottom, it's got 4 sides, so obviously you know a 4-sided figure that is regular would have to be a square. And each of the sides of the square should have a triangle on it. So that's me drawing the net. And then if I look at the labels on here, you have to, this is the hardest part, is figuring out what is what. So they've labeled this right here as 5 inches, and that is each of the sides of the square. So I'm going to start by finding the area of the square, which is the base, by doing 5 times 5, and that's 25. And then the slant height, which is labeled in red, is 8. So that tells me the height of each of these triangles is 8. Okay, so I'm just going to do one of them here, and then I'm going to multiply by 4. So it's going to be 8 times the base, which is 5, and that's 40. Divide that by 2, and you get 20 for each triangle. But since there are 4 triangles, we're going to multiply that by 4, and that gives us a total of 80. So now all we have to do is add the 80, which is again covering all 4 of these triangles, and then the square on the bottom, which was 25. And that's going to give us a grand total of 105 inches squared. Okay, so pause the video to try this first one on your own. If it helps you to draw it or draw the net of it, by all means go ahead. If you don't need to, you don't have to. Alright, so try it and then come back to check your work. Okay, so I just drew the 3-dimensional version of it. I did not draw the net. If I'm looking at the bottom, it's 9 by 9, it's going to be 81, that's the square base. And then each of the triangles is going to be 9 by 7, which is 63, but they're triangles, so you got to cut them in half. That's going to be 31 and a half, but there are 4 of them. So multiply by 4, you get 126, and then add that to the 81, and you'll get 207. 207 centimeters squared. So that's for on your own, number 1. Okay, here is example 2. This one, if you look at the base, it is not a square, it's a triangle. So this one is a little bit crazy because we've got triangles on triangles on triangles, but if you were to draw this as a net, it's 10 meters. It's labeled right here, so that means all of these are 10 meters. And then remember that a pyramid is going to have 3 triangles. It's going to have triangles on all of the sides, and they have labeled the height of the base triangle as 8 7/10 meters, and then I'm going to just label this over here so it doesn't get confusing. The height of each of these lateral faces is 14 meters, so this is the confusing part because you have 3 measurements. So let's isolate the base triangle first. So we have, I'm going to put base here. We have 10, which is the base of that triangle, times 8 7/10, which is, again, right here, the height of that base triangle. Alright, so when I multiply that, it's just going to move the decimal point over once. That's 87, but don't forget to divide by 2, since it's a triangle. So that's going to give us 43 and a half. There's only one of those, so I'm not going to multiply it by anything. And then I'll do each of these side triangles, which there are 3 of. So remember, the base is 10 and the height is 14. And that's going to be 10 times 14, which is 140. But it's a triangle, so divide by 2, and that will give you 70. And then multiply that by 3 since there are 3 of them. So that's 210, and we're going to add that, do some another color, 210 plus the 43 and a half. Fill in your place value, and you get 253 5/10 meters squared. Don't forget we're measuring in meters squared since we are talking about the area of all of these faces. Okay. Last example, you got to really pay attention to what they're asking you for here. On this little tiny house-looking thing, a roof is shaped like a square pyramid. One bundle of shingles, and if you're not familiar with what shingles are, they're each of these little pieces right here that go on top of a roof. Many of you live in apartments or condos, so you don't really have to know about these. But basically, it protects the roof. And so you're buying them in bundles of 25 square feet. So we need to know how many bundles to cover this roof. Now we don't have to worry about shingles here because this is actually the brick of the house. We only want to cover each of these 4 sides. Okay, because I know it's a square pyramid. So I'm going to start with the square base, which is, actually I don't need the base because that's not going to be shingled. So I don't have to worry about that. Let me go back. I only need the 4 triangles. So really only the 4 lateral faces. Again, I don't need the square base because that's going to be on the inside of the house. Okay, so I'm going to do 18 times 15. That's the base times the height of the triangle. That's going to give me 270. And then I will divide that by 2, since it's a triangle. And that gives me 135. Okay, there are 4 of them, so I'm going to do 135 times 4. And that gives me 540. Now that's not my answer because remember, I know that that's the total surface area of those lateral faces, but I want to know how many bundles to buy. So if each bundle covers 25 of these 540, I need to figure out exactly how many bundles I need. So I may have to round here. Let's see. 25 goes into 54 twice because 25 times 2 is 50. And that will only go in once with 25. And obviously they're not going to sell me half of a bundle. So I'm just going to round up. I'm going to stop right here because I know that there's going to be something here, which tells me I need more than 21. So I'm going to say 22 bundles. That will give me more than enough. Okay, now try this. These 2 on your own. You're going to refer back to example number 3 for number 3 right here, using your answer just so you don't have to go back here. We got the lateral surface area at 540 feet squared, so all they're asking you to do here is instead of a bundle covering 25, what if it only covers, what if it covers 32? How many bundles would you need then? Okay, so work it out and then come back here to check your answers. Okay, so number 2 was really tricky because again, I feel like triangular prisms are probably the hardest. And so I'm looking at the base first, and I've got 5 2/10 times 6, and then I'm going to cut that in half, so that is what gave me the 15 6/10 right here. And then each of my side triangles was 6 by 10, 60 divided by 2, which is 30, and there were 3 of them, so 90 right here. And then add that to the 15 6/10 to get 105 6/10. And then for the number 3, again, I am just dividing. Really, all you have to do on this one, no new surface area work, but just figuring out how many times is 32 going to 540. I stopped at 16 8/10. I didn't even really have to go to the 8/10 part to know that it was going to be 17 bundles since I needed more than 16. Okay, that is it for today, you guys. Hope you have a wonderful day, and let me know if you have any questions.